Good morning, children. Welcome to the history class for the chapter From Trade to Territory. Before we begin, let us recap whatever we have learned so far. These are some of the important historical characters like Aurangzeb. Here the picture of Aurangzeb is there. Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal emperor. Here on your screen, I have shared some details about him you can read to enhance your knowledge. Here is the picture of Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer who had discovered the sea route to India in 1498. Here, how the East India Company comes to East. All these points are here, you can refer them later. Details about how the East India Company began trade in Bengal. The concept of Farman, how the East India Company persuaded the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb to issue a Farman granting the company the right to trade. How trade led to battles. The Nawabs of Bengal, Murshid Quli Khan, Alivardi Khan, Siraj ud-Dawla. How the conflicts led to the famous Battle of Plassey. From here, we are beginning our chapter. Now further ahead, company rule expands. If we analyze the process of annexation of Indian states by the East India Company from 1757 to 1857, certain key aspects emerged. The company rarely launched a direct military attack on an unknown territory. Instead, it used a variety of political, economic, and diplomatic methods to extend its influence before annexing an Indian kingdom. After the Battle of Buxar in 1764, the company appointed residents in Indian states. Who were the residents? Residents were the political agents of the Britishers who served the interests of the company. Through them, the company started interfering in the internal affairs of Indian states. They tried to decide who was to be the successor to the throne and who was to be appointed in administrative posts. Sometimes the company forced the states into a subsidiary alliance. Now, what does that mean? I will explain you. Here are some of the terms and conditions. The Indian ruler had to accept certain terms and conditions before signing the subsidiary alliance. For the protection of the Indian ruler, British troops would be permanently based in the territory of the subsidiary state. The ruler would have to pay for the maintenance of the troops. He had to keep a British official at his court. He could not employ other Europeans in his service or remove those who were already there. He could not form an alliance or partnership with any other power without the permission of the English. According to the terms of this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed forces. They were to be protected by the company, but had to pay for the subsidiary forces that the company was supposed to maintain for the purpose of this protection. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, then part of their territory was taken away as penalty. Annexation of Awadh. Awadh was a subsidiary state. When Richard Wellesley was Governor General from 1798 to 1805, the Nawab of Awadh was forced to give over half of his territory to the company in 1801. As he paid to pay for the subsidiary forces, Hyderabad was also forced to cede territories on similar grounds. Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore. The company resorted to direct military confrontation when it saw a threat to its political or economic interests. This can be illustrated with the case of the southern Indian state of Mysore, which is there in Karnataka. Mysore had grown in strength under the leadership of powerful rulers like Hyder Ali. He ruled from 1761 to 1782, and his famous son Tipu Sultan, who ruled from 1782 to 1799. Mysore controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. Both these terms now you are knowing. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper, and cardamom to the ports of his kingdom, and this allowed local merchants from trading with the company. He also established a close relationship with the French in India and modernized his army with their help. The British were furious. They saw Hyder and Tipu as ambitious, arrogant, and dangerous rulers who had to be controlled and crushed. 4 wars were fought with Mysore: 1767 to 1769, 1780 to 84, 1790 to 92, and 1799. Only in the last, the Battle of Seringapatam, did the company ultimately win a victory. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital, Seringapatam. Mysore was placed under the former ruling dynasty of the Wadiyars, and a subsidiary alliance was imposed on the state. The another method of annexation was the doctrine of lapse. The final wave of annexation occurred under Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856. He devised a policy that came to be known as the doctrine of lapse. The doctrine declared that if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would lapse. That means the Indian ruler, if he doesn't have his own son, then his territory would be annexed by the East India Company or taken over by the East India Company, or that will become the part of company territory. One kingdom after another was annexed simply by applying this doctrine. Satara was annexed in 1848, Sambalpur in 1850, Udaipur in 1852, Nagpur in 1853, and Jhansi in 1854. Finally, in 1856, the company also took over Awadh. This time, the British had an added argument. They said they were obliged by duty to take over Awadh in order to free the people from the misgovernment of the Nawab. Enraged by the humiliating way in which the Nawab was deposed, the people of Awadh joined the Great Revolt that broke out in 1857.
For today, I think this much is sufficient to understand. Children, please read the slides. And here I am sharing 2 YouTube videos for your knowledge. Please watch them and enjoy. Until then, goodbye. Thank you.